The night my younger sister told me I was being a little territorial about my own living room, I was standing in the doorway holding a throw blanket she had just tucked into a wicker basket I had never seen before in my life. A basket she had apparently purchased, brought into my home, and placed in the corner of my living room without a single word to me. And she said it with that small, patient smile, like I was the one being unreasonable. That was 14 months after I told her, "Of course you can stay. Take as long as you need." I should have known better, but she was my sister, and you don't say no to family, right? My name is Diane. I'm 41 years old, and I live in a pale yellow craftsman bungalow in Raleigh, North Carolina, that I bought on my own at 34 after 12 years of working as a hospital administrator. I am not telling you that to brag. I am telling you that because I want you to understand what that house means to me. I scraped and saved and lived lean for years to afford it. I repainted every room myself over a long weekend in August, windows open, bad pop music playing, calling my best friend Cora on speaker while I rolled the walls. I planted the hydrangeas out front the first spring I owned it. I built the raised garden beds in the backyard with my own 2 hands and a YouTube tutorial in language that would have made my grandmother cover her ears. It was mine. Every corner of it was mine. My sister's name is Renee. She's 36, 5 years younger than me, and she has always been, in the most loving way I can say this, a little bit of a tornado. Not mean, not malicious, just relentlessly emotion, always between things, between jobs, between apartments, between phases of whatever her current plan was. Our mom always said Renee just hadn't found her footing yet. For 15 years, I watched her not find her footing. When she called me in April of 2 years ago, she was crying. Not dramatically, not manipulatively, just genuinely falling apart in that quiet way that's somehow worse. Her roommate had given her 60 days notice. The sublease she'd been banking on had fallen through. Her job at the design firm had gone part-time with no explanation, and her savings, what little there was, would barely cover 2 months of rent somewhere she'd be miserable. "Diane," she said, "I don't have anywhere to go." I told her she could have my second bedroom. I told her 3 months, maybe 4, just until she stabilized. I told her she was family, and that's what family did. She cried harder. She said, "I don't know what I'd do without you." I believed her. She was my sister. Of course I believed her. The first few weeks were easy, actually. Renee was grateful in that early days way people are when they know they're in someone else's space. She asked before she used things. She offered to cook dinner twice a week. She kept her room tidy and her stuff out of the main living areas, mostly. We'd sit on the back porch in the evenings with iced tea, and it felt like a slumber party almost, like being kids again sharing a bedroom on summer nights. I thought, this is going to be fine. We're going to be fine. The first sign, looking back now, it seems so obvious, but at the time, it was just small enough to let slide. She bought new dish soap. Not a big deal, right? Except she threw out the dish soap I had. The lavender-scented one I ordered from a small shop in Asheville that I genuinely loved and had been buying for 3 years. She replaced it with something from the grocery store because, quote, "the lavender smell was giving me a headache in the mornings." She didn't ask. She just did it. I noticed. I said nothing. I told myself it was dish soap. It wasn't worth a fight over dish soap. 2 weeks later, she rearranged the furniture in the living room. I came home from a Friday shift to find my sofa pushed 2 feet to the left, the armchairs swapped to opposite walls, and my grandmother's old side table, the little walnut one with the barley twist legs that I had refinished myself, shoved into the corner half hidden behind a floor lamp. Renee was on the couch with her laptop, looking pleased. Doesn't it feel more open? She said. The flow is so much better. I've been thinking about it for weeks. I stood in my own living room doorway, and I did not recognize the arrangement of my own furniture. Renee, I said carefully, this is my living room. I know, she said, like that was obvious. I just thought, since I'm here, I could help make it feel more functional. I have an eye for space, Diane. You know that. She did have an eye for space. She'd worked in design. I knew that. But this was my space. And she hadn't asked. I moved the side table back that night after she went to bed. In the morning, she didn't say anything about it. But her expression, that small tightening around the eyes, I filed it away. By June, she had introduced what I started privately calling the invasion of objects. A new rug in the hallway, decorative vases on my kitchen windowsill where I kept my little herb pots, a gallery wall in the staircase that appeared seemingly overnight with framed prints I had never approved, and one frame that held a photo of Renee with her college friends that I had genuinely never seen before. None of it was ugly. That was the disorienting part. She had a good eye, objectively. The rug was pretty. The vases were nice, but they were not mine. And no one had asked me. I had a conversation with her in late June at the kitchen table, keeping my voice even and my words measured. Renee, I need us to talk about the house. She looked up from her coffee with that alert, slightly defensive expression. But this is my home, my things, my arrangement, my space. I need you to ask me before you change anything, before you buy anything for the shared areas, before you move anything. Can we agree on that? She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Of course. You're right. I'm sorry I get carried away. She seemed genuinely contrite. She hugged me. She said she'd be more mindful. She was more mindful for approximately 11 days. In July, she told me she needed a proper workspace. Her part-time job had shifted to full-time remote, which was good news. She was excited, but she needed a real desk setup and the bedroom was too cramped. I had a small sunroom off the back of the house. It wasn't a formal room, more of a transitional space. Big windows, good light, where I kept my reading chair, my little bookshelf, and the old writing desk where I paid bills and wrote actual handwritten letters to my aunt in Savannah. I didn't do email. It was my quiet place, my decompress after a long shift place. I said no, gently, but clearly. That room is my space, Renee. I really need it to stay mine. She nodded. She said, totally understand, no problem. 3 weeks later, she asked if she could just use the desk during the day when I was at work. She wouldn't move anything. She'd clean up before I got home. It was just more practical than a laptop on her bed. I said, fine, just the desk. Don't move anything. You can already guess where this is going. By August, there was a full monitor setup on my writing desk. My bill organizer had been moved to a drawer. A standing file rack had appeared beside the desk. A power strip was routed along my baseboard. My reading chair had been nudged to face the window at an angle that blocked the garden view I loved. And my aunt's letters, the ones I kept in a small stack tied with a ribbon in the desk drawer, were in a different drawer. Because Renee needed that drawer for work files. I sat down in my own chair in that room and I just stared out the window for a while. She was rewriting my home, room by room, not cruelly, not dramatically. One small adjustment at a time, each one individually defensible, collectively devastating. The moment everything came to a head was at my birthday dinner in September. I host my own birthday dinner every year. It's a thing I started in my mid-30s when I realized I actually liked doing it. I pick the menu, I cook, I invite the people I love, I set the table the way I like it, candles and my good linen napkins, and the mismatched vintage plates I've collected for years from flea markets and antique shops, each one with a story. Cora was coming. My friend Yolanda and her husband Marcus. My neighbor
Watch
June.
out.
Renee had invited
Watch
her
out.
new friend Becca, who I had met once and found perfectly nice. I said, okay. I spent the whole Saturday cooking. Braised short ribs, roasted root vegetables with thyme, a peach galette from a An hour before guests arrived, I came downstairs from getting ready and stopped cold in my dining room. Renee had stacked on the sideboard. In their place, a matching white set I had never seen before. Clearly new. Price sticker still faintly visible on the bottom of one. My linen napkins replaced with crisp white ones, folded in some origami shape. The candles I had set out replaced with a taller centerpiece arrangement. The little ceramic dish I always put salt in, the one my friend Yolanda made me at a pottery class years ago, gone from the table entirely. Renee came in behind me, looking pleased. I thought I'd help get the table ready, she said. Doesn't it look clean? Very elevated. Becca actually has a background in event design, so I wanted it to look nice. I turned around slowly. Renee, I said, and something in my voice must have shifted because her expression changed. Where are my plates? On the sideboard. I just thought the mismatched look was a little... They are my plates. This is my birthday dinner in my house. Where did the white set come from? I bought them. I thought, you bought plates for my table, for my birthday dinner, without asking me. She opened her mouth, closed it. I'm going to reset my table now, I said. And then I'm going to finish getting ready. And when our guests arrive, we are going to have a lovely evening. But Renee, we are having a conversation after everyone leaves tonight. A real one. I watched something move across her face. Not anger, more like the very first crack of actual recognition. I put my table back exactly the way I had set it. Every mismatched plate. Yolanda's little ceramic salt dish right where it belonged. My candles, my napkins. And when my guests arrived, and Cora exclaimed over my vintage plates the way she always did, and Marcus asked for the short rib recipe, and June brought a bottle of Riesling that turned out to be perfect with the galette. I sat at the head of my own table, and I was fully, wholly present in my own home for the first time in months.
Okay.
Renee was quiet through most of dinner. After everyone left and the dishes were washed, we sat across from each other at the kitchen table. I didn't yell. I had made a decision long before that moment that I wasn't going to yell. Renee, I said, I love you, and I need you to understand something that I should have made clearer from the very beginning. This is my home, not our home. Mine. I invited you here out of love, and I want you here. But what has been happening over these months is not okay. You have been slowly remaking my space without my permission, and every time I've said something, it stopped for a few days and then continued. That cannot keep happening. She was quiet. Her hands were around her mug. I know I overstep, she said finally. I do it at work, too. I wanted to feel at home somewhere. Her voice cracked just slightly. I haven't felt at home somewhere in a really long time. And there it was, the real thing, underneath all of it. I hear that, I said, and I meant it. And I'm sorry that's true. But making yourself at home cannot mean unmaking mine. Those are two very different things. She nodded. She was crying quietly. "I need you to find your own place," I said. "Not tomorrow. I'll give you until the 1st of November. That's 6 weeks. I will help you look. If you need first month's rent, I'll cover half. But November 1st is the date." She didn't argue. I think somewhere in her she'd known this was coming. I think some part of her was, like me, relieved to finally have the thing said out loud. Renee moved into a one-bedroom apartment in Carborough on October 29th, 2 days before my deadline. It's small, but it's hers. She painted the living room herself, a deep terracotta, and she texted me a photo at 11 p.m. the night she finished, caption, "My wall, my color, my choice," with 3 exclamation points. I laughed out loud alone in my kitchen. I texted back, "Now you get it." The morning after she left, I went through the house slowly, room by room. I moved the furniture back. The gallery wall and the staircase, and rehung the 2 prints that had always been there, a botanical illustration from an estate sale, and a framed photo of downtown Raleigh at night that a coworker had taken and given me when she moved away. I reclaimed the sunroom. I moved the reading chair back to face the garden. I found my aunt's letters and put them exactly where they'd always been. Then I sat down at my writing desk with actual paper, and I wrote my aunt a long letter about everything. I wrote back 3 weeks later, 7 pages in her looping cursive.
Awesome.
And what she said was,
Awesome.
"The people who love us most will sometimes try to fill our whole house if we let them. You have to decide how much room love gets to take up before it stops being love and starts being something else." I have read that letter so many times I've nearly memorized it. Renee and I talk every week now. Longer, better conversations without the strange tension that had built up between us like static. She told me last month that she's been seeing a therapist, working through some things about stability and belonging that go way back before my spare bedroom was ever in the picture. I'm proud of her for that. I really am. She came over for dinner 2 Saturdays ago. She brought pale dahlias from the farmer's market, the kind I actually like. She admired my mismatched plates. She sat in my living room without rearranging a single throw pillow. Before she left, she stood in my front doorway, looked back at my pale yellow house, and said, "It really is a beautiful home, Diane." And I said, "Yeah, it really is." If there is anything I want you to take from this, it's something that took me far too long to say out loud. Saying yes to someone you love is not the same as saying yes to everything. Letting someone into your home does not mean letting them redecorate your life. You can be generous and still have limits. You can love someone deeply and still say, "This part is mine, and it stays mine." The small moments are where it starts. A dish soap replaced, a piece of furniture moved, a drawer reorganized. Each one feels too minor to address. But those small moments are not small. They are the test. They are where you either practice speaking up or practice staying quiet. And silence compounds faster than you'd ever expect. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to say, "This is my home, and I need it to remain my home." You can say it kindly. You can say it with love. But you have to say it, because the person who genuinely loves you will hear it. And the person who won't is already telling you something important. Your home is not just walls and furniture. It is the shape of your life, the proof that you showed up for yourself year after year and built something worth protecting. Protect it accordingly.